Hey everyone, welcome to the first long form on this channel. Today I'm going to be going through my toolbox and showing you what you should have as a beginner RC racer, crawler, basher, whatever section of the land side you're in, other than road, because I know pretty much nothing about road. Um, this is just kind of a simple guide. This isn't really specifically you should buy this product. This is more like this is kind of what you should have. Yeah, prices. Any prices that I mentioned will be in Canadian. I'm not an expert in this topic, so I'm just gonna kind of show you what I feel like you should have. Anyways, without further ado, on to the first tool. So, one thing about RC tools is, of course, a lot of the times they're kind of specialized, but you can find like non-specifically RC tools that'll work with your RC cars. But the specialty RC tools, they're a bit expensive. Like for MIP, I believe it's $30 Canadian for like one handle. Like if you want a 2 millimeter hex, it's like $30. But what you can do instead of that is you can do something like get yourself a bit set. So that bit set right there cost me about $30 on Amazon, so about the same price as one MIP handle, and it's got everything from 1.5 mil to 10 mil, as well as some Imperial. I don't really touch the Imperial on the set, mostly because, as far as I know, Traxxas mostly uses metric for its screw sizes, but these are nice to have. This railer set on Amazon was like, again, $30. So a hex bit set from everything from 1.5 mil to 10 mil. You won't really ever need anything above like, I don't know, 3.5, but having those exercises are nice. Having those exercises that having those exercises are nice because you can use them around the house if you have some notes to tighten up using that uses hex. The other thing, while we're on the topic of bits, is a kind of more general bit set that has other things like sockets or Phillips or flathead or even Robertson if you're Canadian. Having something like this will be nice because again, everything's quarter inch. You can put your bits in an impact driver if you're like me and you'll like using power tools, or you can get yourself a screwdriver handle with a quarter-inch chuck on it that again you can put any standard size bit into. Like this is the socket that I use for my slash wheel nuts, and it fits right in there perfectly because it's all a quarter-inch or 6 millimeters. So again, any bit in here other than these like drill bits, which I'm just going to pretend aren't there, will fit in that. The other thing in this kind of bit and driver section is an electric screwdriver. So, of course, using your hands on a using a standard screwdriver can get kind of old, especially if you're like really tearing things apart in precision and isn't really something you need. So, an electric screwdriver that can take quarter-inch bits, like again what the standard is, goes right in there, locks in perfectly. These are nice to have. Again, tearing things apart, don't need precision. Being able to just kind of pull the trigger and get it going. This one was about $20, Princess Auto. It did come with bits. I am not using those, however, because I had all these bits already. But yeah, electric screwdriver is also something nice to have if you're just tearing things apart. The next thing on this little bit and driver list is a quarter-inch ratchet. Basically, this is a kind of a micro ratchet. It's like a socket wrench, but different. So again, it takes quarter-inch or 6 millimeter bits. Like usual, these are nice to have when you're working on your cars and there's a screw in a tight spot that you can't really get to with your standard screwdriver or electric screwdriver. Um, there has been a few times working on my Slash, like when I installed some Pro-Align body mounts on it, that I had to like get into a tight area that I just couldn't get a screwdriver into. So at the time, I had this, and I was able to just get right in there with a smaller smaller hex bit. I have modified this bit set slightly, like, again, putting smaller hex bits in there, so you have, like, when you're trying to get into smaller spaces, you're not worrying about, like, the entire, like, orange part here to get in there. So, yeah, bit set, smaller hex bits, standard size hex bits, electric screwdriver. That's not gonna go in there, is it? So yeah, all these things are nice to have for working on your RC cars. So yeah, bits and drivers. All this stuff is about the price as it would take to build out like a full tool set of MIP tools or like MIP handles. But at the same time, like I can pick up any bit in this set other than again these like whole like actual like drill bits. Can pick up anything in this set and I can put it in this thing, or I can put it in this thing, or I can put it in screwdriver handle. It all works together. Next section of what you should have in your beginner RC toolbox is actually going back to screwdrivers and handles. Having yourself a flathead screwdriver is nice. Using it as a pry bar. I call flathead screwdrivers pry bars all the time. Because that's what I use them as the most. Have I ever used this thing as an actual like screwdriver? No. Have I used it as a pry bar? Every time that I have used it. That's nice to do, especially when you're replacing drive shafts on your Slash. That, in my experience, your Slash is just love to eat drive shafts. Being able to pop that wheel hex off nice and easy with that is, it's nice to have. Kind of getting into the miscellaneous tool section now. You have set of needle nose pliers. Again, say you're wrenching in a tight spot and you need to access a nut on the backside of a screw like Red Cat often does, or at least on the Gen 7 that I have. Having that's nice because you might not be able to get a wrench or a socket in there to be able to like hold it down, so being able to put a set of needle nose pliers on there because it can grip like just about any size of nut that you would find on an RC car. Needle nose pliers, these are nice to have. Let's see. The other hand tool that's nice to have before I get on to a kind of different section is a multi-tool. Now, of course, multi-tools will have screwdrivers on them, but most of the time I've just used this one as a knife. But having that in your toolbox is also great to have, especially if you're out racing and popping open spare parts packages or stuff like that. So, again, having a knife in your toolbox is nice to have. Let's see, what else? The other thing that's nice to have if you're racing out in the dirt is a electric air blower. Basically, this guy runs off of a 24-volt battery, and it's almost like a mini leaf blower. So if you're, again, racing in loose dirt, you can just blow your truck off, and that kind of keeps the dirtiness of it to a manageable amount. So your truck isn't getting like covered in dirt, and then it's a pain to clean off later. The other thing that I'd also recommend having is something to put your screws in. This was, I don't know how many bucks at Princess Auto, but it was pretty cheap. I haven't used this one quite yet, but before I was just stealing glass dishes from the kitchen, which my mom wasn't too happy about. But something to put your screws and little parts into while you're wrenching is nice to have, especially if you have like multiple actual containers to put things in, because there's 5 in this set. There's one like longer one on the bottom than 4 smaller ones. These are nice to have so you're not losing parts. The other thing you should have in your toolbox that could come useful if you're playing with wires and just generally needing to cut things a lot is a pair of wire cutters. Those can be used on zip ties, those can be used on wires, like just about anything. A pair of wire cutters are nice to have. Of course, as you can tell, these are pretty old and rusty, and they've seen better days, but still work great. Those are, again, nice to have in your toolbox. Let's see, what are some other things? A 1/4 inch or 60 millimeter wrench. It was also nice to have before I got the ratchet. I was using this on bits in tight areas, almost working like a ratchet. That's actually why I bought the ratchet. But yeah, 1/4 inch wrench. That's also nice to have. The other thing you should have in your toolbox is a ton of spare parts. Especially if you're racing or driving something slightly faster like this slash 2-wheel drive, the more likely you are to break parts. So having spare parts in your toolbox is nice to have. There was one time when I was racing during the practice session right before the first race, which was my class, I broke a drive shaft and I had to run around the pits begging people for a drive shaft because I didn't have spare parts at the time. Now I'm stocked up on parts for next race season. So again, having spare parts in your toolbox if you're racing something fast, those will be nice to have. A toothbrush to clean off your trucks is also nice because it's nice and small. You're not using a big old like horsehair brush to clean things off. The other thing that can be nice to have is a ball-tipped screwdriver. Basically, what the ball-tip does, at least with the hex drivers, is it makes it so you can put your screwdriver in a screw at an angle. You can kind of see how it's shaped like a ball there. Basically, you can put this thing in at an angle, and it still works just the same. You don't have to get a dead-on fit. So again, screws in slightly harder to reach places. This can be nice to have. Yeah, that's about it. I did not have a script for this video, so this probably wasn't too good. Videos like this will obviously get better the more I make them, but thanks for listening to me ramble. Any links that I might decide to put in will be in the description. I'm on Instagram at VelcoRC. Can't really think of much more to say. Have a good one. Bye.